And welcome to the State of Wayne podcast. We are once again here with one of the only local comics willing to come on the show and discuss the shenanigans of life with me, Alan Bromwell and his faithful companion, my dog.
You gotta clap. Okay, it's gonna make it easier. Don't.
I think I'm fucking it up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm fucking
you
it up
should
with
only
this.
clap once, but all right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we are here in the post-election world. What are your thoughts on the election, Alan? Do you think it's a scam? Do you think Joe Biden has a mandate from the people? Do you think that? What do you think?
It's interesting, like looking at the response on social media, how you can almost sense that Democrats are not too eager to celebrate. Some will, but a lot of them have this feeling like I don't think it's actually. Wait, did you just?
Yeah, you got this is. Oh shit! I'm in microphone 2. You're in microphone 1. My bad.
Yeah, you're good. Okay, just mute.
We got a learning curve going on here, guys.
Mute me.
There's a learning curve happening.
You just turned that one way down. Okay, so. Dude, it's interesting, actually, because there's only a few people celebrating in my world. Most of them, I think, know, it's going to go to the courts. This is going to be a thing. And they also probably know that, we did steal Wisconsin. We did steal Georgia and so forth. And Pennsylvania, no doubt. So, I don't know.
I mean, if they really
it's
do
not post-election to me. It's like mid-election.
That's the thing is like the consensus amongst the intelligentsia in the media class amongst them. Like, oh no, it's good. Hasn't been certified by a single state yet.
No, and I mean, hearing people say, like, I was curious about Bush Gore and hearing how long that took. I'm like, well, this is going to take at least as long as Bush Gore. I mean, and that was 20 days supposedly, so we got at least 20 days.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've been seeing a bunch of I'm on mic 3. I'm not on mic 1. I think. You see I'm catching gains right here.
Let's see. You in 1?
I don't know, dude. I can hear myself. This is why you got to wear monitors. Yeah, there's nothing coming in on mic 1. Speak into mic 1.
Mic 1. Oh yeah, there isn't mic 1. No, I'm mic 1.
Keep going.
Yeah, I'm mic 1. You okay? So I'm mic 1. You're mic 2.
Right there. That sounds good.
Okay. We know numbers.
Yeah.
We should count this election. The two of us.
You have a degree in applied mathematics. Why are we not at the head of the intelligentsia? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I really think that what we're going through as a culture is that scene in Good Will Hunting where he goes, is like, would you spend $100,000 a year on an education from Harvard? Well, yeah, tell you what, I get the same thing from a fucking public library pass, except now that's an internet connection.
Yeah, sorry, that's my fucking phone. But
No. I understand. You're a popular guy. You're a working comic, so why wouldn't your phone be blowing
probably
up?
my grandmother calling me. But
Did you go grocery shopping with her?
Not with her. I grocery shop for her. But and then she will call. Probably what this is, she's leaving me a message and going, I asked for Progresso soups with no chicken, and you got me chicken noodle. That's normally what
I would like to imagine she's calling and be like, this Noah Hubler thinks he's, or not Noah, this, what's the late night guy on Comedy Central? The South African?
Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah. I'd like to imagine she's calling you going, this Trevor Noah is a no funny colored piece of trash.
You just wanted to say colored.
I've been looking for an out. I'm not going to, this is going on BitChute, not YouTube, so we're safe.
Yeah, we're fine. But, I mean, dude, I've told you this anecdote before. If you're trying to get through the YouTube filters, they literally, now I don't know if this is still the way it is, but they took down a bunch of chess videos.
Yeah.
Because they were saying black black is worse in this position. So, like, black will always be worse.
Were they, like, subjugated economical terms that they were talking about, or just pure
No.
philosophy?
They go, if you move the bishop out here, black's always worse.
So they weren't like, if you decide to go on a slavery-based economic system, blacks are going to be at a that's not what they were saying.
Yeah, it's actually surprising because there's no patriarchal language in chess. Actually, chess is matriarchal because the queen is the most powerful piece.
Yeah, now, it's reflective of medieval Europe, right?
Granted, you can lose your queen and still win, but the queen is the most powerful piece. The king, you do need to protect the safety of the king, but the king, it's like a flaccid penis. The king in chess, it's you protect it. But the queen is where the money is, and that was true in court politics. Like if you look at
48 Laws
Queen
of Power.
Elizabeth, if you look at exactly.
I finished that book, dude, and I honestly, if you're confused as to what politics are and what they mean and how they operate, read that book, and it will honestly give you a big insight into actually what motivates these people for what they do.
It changed my mind too, and Lola Montez.
Yeah.
Lola Montez is in there.
She was the French courtier, right?
Queen Elizabeth. There were obviously Cleopatra, but he makes a good point, which is that the king is the figurehead, but generally speaking, the queen was the socialite who actually made shit happen.
The social connections.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about that book is that it highlights 4 different professional types: politicians, courtiers, kings, queens, monarchical types.
Yeah.
Courtiers within those courts, the people who are right underneath the monarchy. It highlights that's 2 out of the 4. 3rd out of the 4, merchants, artists, and the ways that, and then the 4th group of people that book highlights are con artists. Mm-hmm. It's just.
Yeah, it's alchemists and
charlatans.
Yeah,
and it highlights those people as to put them on the same footing as great minds of politics, arts. Yeah,
dude, power is fickle. I mean, if you just want power tonight, it's as quick as putting a certain chemical in your body.
Well, and I honestly feel like that's a big disconnection between the American public and the way they view politics. They view politics as if this is some supposed to be some sort of beneficial thing to the populace's life. That's never what politics and governance is.
Big ruse.
It's always been about power and control and the consolidation of those two things. And these people think that this is some sort of altruistic institution that's supposed to help people.
That's why they put such an emphasis on vote. You must vote because that's your little pork barrel. Like in the old days when
that's your source of power as a pleb, is your ability to vote. That is your source of power that's supposed to give you comfort. Because when you're powerless, that's when you become fucking ruthless. That's when you start throwing Molotov cocktails at people.
Yeah.
Is when you feel powerless.
I was 1 in 400 million. I made a difference. And then you go home and you feel good and all that, but you've got to know that they only are programming you this way so that once every 4 years you feel like you did do something.
Yeah, you're helping. You're helping.
Except if you're a Republican and you watch Fox News and you go, well, I didn't do anything. They fucking mail in boxes of ballots to undo what I did.
We went to sleep on election night. Donald Trump was winning. We wake up on Wednesday morning. Mm-hmm. That story's changed. Yeah, that's fucking phenomenal.
Turns out FedEx forgot to deliver all the Democrat votes. And now they're here.
Yeah, how many of these? How many glitches have you heard about that are be like, oh yeah, we accidentally counted 10,000 votes for Donald Trump?
Dude, it's so pathetic. I mean, honestly, what you said about the analogy between Bush Gore is true. In Bush Gore, there was no real threat to the power structure.
Exactly.
In this election, there is, so they're pulling out all the stops. You can see that. Like, Bush Gore was about Florida. We waited 20 days to settle Florida's electoral votes.
And the majority of that came from Elian Gonzalez and the Cuban. Remember all that shit? Like, that was a big fucking story back in the day. Remember the picture of the guy storming Elian's little suburban rental home in Miami-Dade County?
I don't actually remember that.
It was a whole deal because I'm originally from South Florida, Key West. People don't realize how big people don't realize that Cuban refugees in the 80s, when they got here, if they could put their fucking big toe on American sand on a beach, they were automatically considered citizens. It leads to a big divide between Cuban Americans and other Hispanic Americans.
All they could do is put their little toe on the beach, they got executed.
Exactly, which is what Castro wanted.
Yeah, well, exactly. But in that case, we're talking about Florida. Now we're talking about Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania.
Only people immigrating to Wisconsin are Canadians, and those are undesirables.
I only named 3 of 5. I think there's 2 other states.
Georgia,
Arizona. He sued,
Nevada.
Actually, his original lawsuit was Arizona, Nevada. Like, this is incredible. This is incredible.
Luckily, we're existing in a year where the electoral process has been the same as every other year before. There hasn't been any massive request for unrequested mail-in ballots. Mm-hmm. That hasn't happened this year. I even questioned Colorado's results when I looked at it. I was like, are you fucking Who won Colorado? Did Cory Gardner, the Senate? Like, I haven't kept up with it. Because we need Cory Gardner. We really do need a Republican senator for this motherfucker.
I think he lost, but I was just surprised that Hickenlooper won by such a margin. I mean, Hickenlooper won like 80%. Like, what? Like,
it really is. It cannot be based on actual like issues in like these people can't be actually informed on the issues. You know what I'm saying? They can't, because if they were, I just don't see how you could vote for somebody who proposes and is.
This is what I don't understand. How is anyone anywhere voting for pro-lockdown politicians?
I don't think they realize they're pro-lockdown. Yeah, I just think they're projected an image of this is right, this is wrong, and they take that blue pill and they're like, this is the reality.
I guess
I'm voting against evil. I would venture to say that 90% of the people who voted for Joe Biden think they're voting for righteousness. Mm-hmm. Think they're voting for the correct way to conduct a society,
I'm voting
regardless
for
of the
progress.
past. Yeah, regardless of 50 years of actual fucking recorded history.
Doesn't matter that he's actually made the lives of black and brown people worse. Let's vote for him because of his public image of being less racist than the orange man.
He seems like my grandpa. He seems like the guy who comes around at Christmas every year and hands out Carver's Worth. What's the bullshit caramel candy that old people?
Oh, no, the butterscotches.
But Buttersworth. No, not Buttersworth.
I was gonna say that too.
Werthers. He's like, here's, instead of handing out Werthers, he's handing out like nostalgic memories of the old times. Remember back in the 80s when nobody gave a shit.
This is where I learned that people don't even follow politics, even if it does affect them. Like when we got that stimulus, which is, there should have been multiple stimuli since then. We got that $1,200. Donald Trump proposed a stimulus that was twice that, and the Democrats voted it down.
Oh yeah,
the Democrats were
phenomenal.
The Democrats were actually against socialism. That was amazing.
Which also is their platform, by the way.
But that's like we are in such a postmodern society where literally the left doesn't even care about their own principles. They just care about personality.
It's all power. That's really what I'm interested to see is when does the electorate of this country realize that none of this shit is about enacting policies that are beneficial to the American public at large. All of this shit is about power acquisition. That like we were talking about, reading the 48 Laws of Power, it really gives you a really good perspective on how these people think, how they operate, what their motivation is. It's not to help the American populace. It's power acquisition. The quicker and the better, the sooner people realize that, the better off our society will be. The quicker people.
Well, how would making a database of Trump supporters help the American? It's so absurd.
Yeah,
they don't. Even the left doesn't care about helping the American populace. They care about helping the left.
Exactly. And the quicker people realize that, the better off we're going to be.
But I mean that
this shit was never about helping people. Like the idea that a government could help a human being.
Hey, Wayne, you don't think Mao Zedong wanted to help people? You don't think Stalin wanted to help people? You don't think Pol Pot wanted to help people?
I think that was their branding message. I feel like it's a powerful branding. Hope and change, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then 8 years after Hope and Change, those people get dosed with, a guy who sounds like he's a bricklayer from Queens. And they're like, no. Can't have any of this shit. This shit is in a clear and present danger to the homogenization of global economics. You know, we got to get rid of this guy. This guy might lead to living wages for people who work in this country. It's astonishing. It really is astonishing how people still, like the boomer era people, the people who were born in the early 50s, late 40s, who associate the Democratic Party with the
unions.
Not even as unions is a part of it for sure, but they associate the Democratic Party with the social changes that happened in the 60s, the social revolution.
Right, Civil Rights Act.
Exactly. They associate the Democratic Party with that, and it's so ingrained in their mind that they can't even comprehend that, hey, maybe the Democratic Party's become the party of people who have 4-year degrees and get a significant amount of their income from dividends. They can't comprehend that.
That's where, like, if you understand that that same left, even if we're talking about the good Democrats of that period, they still created the welfare state, which destroyed the black family.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Nobody talks about that. They like, dude, I mean,
it's astonishing what they've gotten away with.
Yeah, okay, we hired some people to build some dams or whatever, but like, it was never actually populist.
We got a bunch of shovel-ready projects out here for the American populace to get back to work, America.
Right.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
but
why
you got $100 million book deal lined up after this, you cunt.
To me, like when you like green, if you look at the Green New Deal, when you take American government in this country, they tell you the New Deal was the single most effective piece of legislation in this country. Maybe they talk about the Civil Rights Act or whatever, but the New Deal, that's what they always point to, and they go, the New Deal was we passed a lot of bullshit in this country, but the New Deal, that was a good. You look at what the New Deal did.
Lots of bullshit.
Yeah, actually, there's a real argument as to whether that actually did anything positive. So
can't talk about that argument though. That makes you an enemy of the state if you bring up any such ideas.
And that's where I just started to think, okay, so law, like we want to pretend that the government's doing something productive, but of course it's
Obama
not.
did it. Does nobody remember in like the beginning years of the Obama presidency?
Agenda.
Like we were coming right off of the 2008 financial collapse. The American economy was desolate. Like one of his campaign messages was, "We're going to have shovel-ready projects. It's going to be the next American New Deal." How many of those shovel-ready projects produced something that was productive?
No, he
absolutely none.
He bailed out Goldman Sachs, is what he did with that money.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then they sent him a list of people that he should have in his cabinet, and
right.
he obliged.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty. That's par for the course, but of course it's nonsense. Like I'm amazed. Obama was one of the best. Like you look at his speeches, he does seem to give a fuck about the common man.
Yeah, he's very good at being the statesman. Some might say he was groomed from a young age to be in the position that he's in. Mm-hmm. Some might say that.
Yeah, he had an air, but I mean, listen, I would love to watch Trump and Obama speak publicly now because, like, Trump cuts through even. Like Biden was pathetic because Biden was just inept. But Obama was, like you say, schooled in these theories of self-presentation.
If you were going to train somebody to be a statesman from a young age, they would end up looking like Obama.
Yeah, but the new right, as Michael Malice would say.
I read that book recently.
Somebody needs to come out besides Trump's kids doing this shit.
Exactly.
But like, it is this kind of like, I'm going to be fucking honest. I'm not going to bullshit. And that even like you're talking about, some people see through the bullshit regardless of education level. When you see somebody being honest in the political sphere,
it hits you. You can tell.
That's why Trump won in 2016. That's why he got so many votes, and why
what
they're
mars
working
it a little
so
bit
hard
is
to keep
a
him
lot
out
of
power
that.
Now.
A lot of that authentic, honest rhetoric that he espoused, especially in the 2016 run-up to his election, was far outside of the bounds of acceptable conversation. You know what I'm saying? When he gets up there and he says, "Look, Mexico's not bringing their best people. They're bringing rapists. They're bringing..." Like, you can't say that shit. but also it's kind of true to a little bit of extent. And I say this as somebody who grew up in construction. I've worked a lot of my working days with the illegal immigrants. They're some of the best human beings I know. They're some of the people who are willing to work harder than most people I've ever met so their family can become better. Like, they're true. Like, as far as individuals go, illegal immigrants, they got my fucking vote. They're good people. But can't run a fucking country with that. You can't have people who have no say in the political process coming in here and undercutting the labor market to such a degree that the people who do have a voting say in this country feel like they've, been stooped by the political process and the corporate process that brings in cheap labor. Like when Corona happened and the Smithfield pork processing plants. No, seriously, like that wasn't even Corona. I think the Department of Justice and the immigration, ICE, all those guys under Trump, like they went in there and they raided a Smithfield pork packing plant because it was like 90% illegal immigration labor. Mm-hmm. And they said, get the fuck out of here. And then the whole media story is like, well, Americans aren't going to want to take this job. Americans are too spoiled. Americans don't want to work. Guess how long it took for that company and that factory to replace every single job with American workers? Under a month. So like this idea that American people don't want to do that. You haven't met anybody who's coming off of an Opana binge in a trailer park. Right. They'll take any fucking job that's offered to them.
Yeah, that was a weird tactic of the left to say it's really racist when you say only a Mexican would do this job. Yeah. Like, and that was their talking point. They go, you want these jobs, you white people? We don't do these jobs. We're white.
Look, I grew up in a New Bedford, Connecticut suburb. None of my friends have ever done manual labor in their life. So why would any other white person in this country want to do manual labor?
Bring in these colored brown folk.
Colorful
brown folk. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, what were we talking about before you brought up the Smithfield thing and the Mexican thing? Well, this is what I was going to say. So Trump is racist because he said these things about Mexicans. Meanwhile, a lot of Mexicans voted for him, but
more so in this one than any other election. By the way,
right. He's racist, even though he got more minority vote than Republicans generally get. But let's just say he's racist. Was that really any more racist than Bush saying it is our God-given right to kill these evil Iraqis? Like
the evildoers. The evildoers.
Exactly.
Remember the
he literally called races of people evildoers, and we just went and killed their families. That's not racist. But now Trump saying, "I really love a burrito in a taco bowl." Is like I don't understand how the line has gotten so. I mean, and that's what the media does. They choose what the story is. There's so much information. If you were imagine if you ran NBC and you want to set the agenda, you want to set the story for that day. There's so much information coming in. You don't even need to look at that information. You go, let's just see what information supports the fact that fuck this guy.
I would really love to be in the CNN logistics room at 6 a.m. New York time to see what they're discussing, just to be on a fly on the wall with what they're discussing with, because you have to know that at this point in the game that they know that they are the bastions of truth, that whatever they say outside of people like you and me, what they say is going to be taken as truth by the mass majority of the American
other hand, they must know that they're losing credibility.
Increasingly every day. But they still maintain the ability to set the narrative.
Right.
That's the thing. And when that flips, that's going to be an interesting flip to see. It hasn't happened yet. So anyway, mainstream media has the ability to set the narrative. And this is the first time in history that their narrative that they set has been agenda and has been driven by an agenda to thwart the president of the United States. Generally, they've been in cahoots. They might be like I think
it's an incredible division.
I mean,
of
some of the
powers.
biggest Obama administration scandals, you could say, Fast and Furious, the illegal Libyan invasion, the proliferation of ISIS. Obama had the IRS target conservative groups. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of that shit ever got scrutinized. But the second somebody goes against the narrative and has an idea that's against the narrative, it's scrutinized beyond belief. Mm-hmm. The idea that Trump walking into the demilitarized zone of the Korean Peninsula without security and shaking hands with the head of state of one of the most reviled regimes on the planet gets negatively covered, that is amazing to me. That just is beyond the pale.
Not just that, but in the context of when he got elected, there were people leftists posting left and right, we're going to have a nuclear holocaust with North Korea. This is so sad. I cannot believe we've let this man come into power. And then he goes and talks with the guy, and they go, yeah, we like each other. And then what? And those people immediately go to, I can't believe he talked to him.
Yeah.
So what? They can't even decide. It's like what I've learned is the substance of the argument is nil. It doesn't matter what the content of their argument is whatsoever. It does not matter. It's the direction of it. It's they're saying this guy is doing the wrong thing. They don't care about the actual facts of the case they're making.
It's because their end game is power. Their end game isn't peace. Their end game isn't, the prosperity. Their end game isn't.
No, I know, and I've been really
things.
enjoying all these well-educated leftists who I knew from college who are gloating on Facebook right now. I just go on their celebration feed and they go, thank God I've cried for 12 hours and I'm so happy that Joe Biden has now taken the throne in this. And I just get on the bottom and I go, great news for all the people in Syria. And they've got nothing to say.
We have allowed too many people to consider themselves intellectual. That's a big, yeah.
But these people who they read books every day and they preach to their little local.
Which books though? Which books? What ideas are you? You know what I'm saying?
They read
whatever.
They read Jared Diamond.
Whatever has been recommended to them by the New York Times bestseller. Right. Let's talk about the New York. Let's talk about the fucking New York Times. You know what? Do you know what it takes to work at the New York Times? Do you know what it takes to work at that outfit?
An associate's degree from a technical school.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Bunker Hill, outside of Massachusetts. It's where Robin Williams' character taught.
It takes a nice long tongue and an ability to stick it up.
Everybody knows you can just walk into the New York Times with an associate's degree in welding and you can start writing articles for them. Here's what it takes to work for the New York Times. You're competing with people to get a job there that have graduated from Columbia, Brown, Yale, Princeton, Harvard. All these
highly indoctrinated propagandists.
Minimum $250,000 educations. That's who you're competing against. Okay. Now we're talking about the New York Times here, right? So after you acquire your $250,000 degree, do you know what the next step is? You've got to participate in an unpaid internship for a year to 2 years whilst living in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's $150,000 a year existence if you include going out for drinks and social networking and all that shit with your intelligentsia class. Mm-hmm. It is impossible for anybody to work at the New York Times in its current state and have an understanding of what it is like to exist in the working class. To know what it's like that if you get snowed out of work this week, you might not make your fucking mortgage payment. None of these people know what that existence is like. They don't know what it's like to have to call in from work and worry about your hourly wage because you got a sick kid at preschool. You know what I'm saying? Shut the fuck up, Barrett. I've got a dog. I mean, I would never beat a child, but I'll beat a dog. Because children are valuable if you sell them to Jeffrey Epstein.
Dude, I don't think there were ever working class people writing for any respectable
No,
newspaper.
they never were. It was always the intelligentsia.
That's a really good point, though. Like, if you were to talk to a leftist, because they're so about championing
we're the working class,
underclasses.
We're the working class. And it's like, bitch, you don't know what it's like to make $14 an hour. You do not know what it's like. You just don't.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know if the New York Times was ever respectable. Now, like
they were. I mean, it's the Gray Lady. It's the paper of record. Like, if you were to ask any boomer in this country what the most respected newspaper in the country is, they'll tell you it's the New York Times or the Washington Post.
Right. But of course, it's always been propaganda. These people have been starting printing presses to get even with their rivals and to further their own.
Which is why the internet is such a threat to them. With the unfiltered distribution of information, allowing people to develop their own bullshit detectors, that cannot happen. It cannot happen. And there's even like theories floating around on 4chan and Reddit and all the message boards that any message board unmoderated for any amount of time will eventually become conservative, right wing.
Of course it does. Of course it does, because that's how people actually talk and think. But and I'm not even saying that liberal ideology is fundamentally wrong. Like, liberal ideology in this country is perverted. There's a real point to liberalism, but I don't know what's happened it's gone now.
Well, I mean, liberalism is just the idea that the individual should be able to lead a life that makes them happy and fulfilled. And if you do that, that will, lead to economic prosperity, which it has.
That's libertarianism now, though. Like, liberal, this is what I don't understand.
Yeah, the confusion of the language, that's one of my favorite little tricks.
Modern liberals do not give a fuck about liberty. They don't care about liberty.
Well, but that's a modern semantic language 1984 Orwellian tool. Like, liberals were never progressives. You know what I'm saying? Liberals were people who believed in liberty. It was the left wing.
I think unions were a good idea. I think giving
they still are, but
worker communities with political power,
the ability to collectively bargain. That's what's valuable.
Yeah, collective bargaining.
Unions, when it becomes a homogenized thing, it becomes a power structure.
Far to get to any good left-wing idea. Like, since then, I don't know what the fuck they've done. Free healthcare. Like, if we were going to actually talk about,
I don't know. If we were under, I grew up in the Bible Belt and the hyper-conservative, hyper-religious shit. Like, if they had it their way, it would all be religious moral authoritarianism as opposed to racial equity moral authoritarianism. So both of these sides are trying to institute moral authoritarianism, which is what I'm against.
What's interesting is that these 80s conservative Christians who lost the cultural war, they now resent the identity politician. Like, they're like, well, we didn't get to do that, so you don't get to do that. So it's eventually going to just go away. Hopefully it goes.
The conservatives have to get to a spot where they're not holding back liberal progress. Conservatives have to get to a spot where we're promoting.
What is liberal progress? What progress? What do they want?
The idea that it's okay to give hormones to an 8-year-old child.
Exactly.
That's liberal progress. That's progressiveness. The progressivism.
The idea,
whereas liberalism would be like, that child doesn't have the constitution or the mental wherewithal to make those decisions for himself.
Well, that's now libertarianism. So liberalism no longer cares about liberty. Liberalism is now, like you said, moral authoritarianism, which is, if I put the green mask on things, if I say this is green, what I'm doing, I can do anything.
Or not even green. It's like, okay, religion is dead, but us being the state, being the new religion, will dictate what is morally correct and not correct to you. And then, it's really, dude, I'm not a religious person. I believe in a higher power. I'm agnostic and all that shit. But everybody I know who's adamantly atheist, who this is just the natural world, there's nothing beyond it, we live, we die, and then it snuffs out, none of them are Republican, or even
liberal.
Conservative.
No, it's all this science-y atheist.
That's my favorite Orwellian term, by the way, is believe in science.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in science.
We believe
I've
in science.
Never heard a
science is real.
I've never heard a more oxymoronic term in my life than believe in science.
Right.
Science isn't something you believe in. Bitch, that's a process. There's no believing. There's no belief. And there's no room for belief within this structure of coming to the idea of truth.
But
you want to attack the logos, then you also have to attack science. And you do both of those things and then promote it in the name of science. Fuck you.
Well, science in itself is fine, but when you're talking about
scientific process,
the scientific method, sure. But when we're talking about this shit, like, you want to talk to any of these motherfuckers who have a sign on their lawn who says, science
we believe
is real.
In science.
Yeah, science is real. Do they know about the reproducibility crisis? Do they know that actually most science is do they realize that there was a lot of studies that said tobacco was good?
My favorite era of science is when they deduced that black people were inferior to white people. Remember when science said that?
No, not only that, but this is a dark era of psychology. There was a guy who came out with in the DSM. There was one edition where there was a disease called drapetomania, which was a disease that causes slaves to want to run away. Drapetomania. Now, of course, we have attention deficit disorder, which is when a child who's smarter than the teacher wants to draw instead of listening to her.
You know what's so funny is my little brother got diagnosed with ADHD at a young age, and I didn't. But I didn't pass a class after the 6th grade. Like, I started failing classes in the 6th grade, and I was a high school football hero, so they were just like, fuck it, let him do whatever he wants to do. But, like, I can't, like, outside of the easy ones, like literature and shit smart people just show up to and pass. I didn't pass a math class. Like, I didn't pass anything that took any actual diligence to do. It was pretty impressive what I was able to accomplish with my secondary education. Mainly the fact that I got a high school diploma. I'll never forget, dude. I'll never forget walking into my advanced functions and modeling teachers after school little meeting thing. Advanced functions and modeling, because I wasn't qualified to take Algebra 2. And so I was like, hey, I'm one of 10 people in my graduating class that's been accepted to college. You can ruin that right now, or you can just give me a B+ and I'll go to college. Guess we got a B+.
Yeah. Well,
turns out communication skills are more important than math skills.
I don't know what the ADD agenda is, really. I mean, it's probably just to make obedient workers, because you put them on stimulants at a young age, and
you identify the kids who are outside of the bounds, and you chemically put them in the bounds.
But, and I'm not putting that in the same class as these, the same thing, but it's similar.
It's tantamount with genocide, Alan.
It does. It just, the aim is to make people who are unquestioning and do what they're told. And it works. I mean, certainly you get all these fucking medicated idiots, and they just read the news. They post about what the news said. They're outraged at what the news told them to be outraged about. They go do their job. They come home. They're angry. They use that anger to spend money.
I'm always interested because you went to a pretty reputable public school system, Cherry Creek Schools.
Yeah. I'm
always interested in like what that was like, because I went to like literally like I would go to Subway and come back to school and be like, yeah, I got Subway. I went off campus for lunch. Are you gonna not let me start this Friday night? Because I think you are. You know what I'm saying? So like I've always been interested in what it must have been like to go to a school that had like actual academic integrity. You know what I'm saying?
Really, all they cared about was, we're going to help you get into the best school you can, which meant...
Never a thought in my school, by the way. Never a thought. There was no idea of, like, what college are you going to after this? What are you doing after this?
Yeah, I mean, that's all they cared about. Other than that, I had some good teachers, actually. I had better teachers in high school than I did in college.
Interesting.
And I still think about...
That's where all the cool
kids go. They were better role models for me than... In college, there were a couple of geniuses who I could tell... They were doing research, and when they lectured, you could tell they were geniuses.
They were like in their off time lecturing you.
Yeah. And you could just tell when they were talking. You're like, whoa, this guy is on another level. But that was maybe 2 or 3 guys. The rest of them were idiots.
Why do you think those smart people end up in academia, though? You would almost assume that their skills would be better suited outside of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you care about money, probably, but some of these guys just really wanted to do. Like, I had an organic chemistry professor who just really was interested.
That's interesting because it's a technical thing. It's not like hoity-toity like abstract ideas. We can interject these into the curriculum. Like organic chemistry, that's pretty tried and true science. There's not much deviation there.
And I'm sure this guy could go make a lot of money in industry, but I remember one guy in particular who I was just listening to him talk, and I was like, this guy. I mean, he was just interested in the geometry of molecules, and he wanted to create these like mirror image molecules that could interface enantiomers that could move through. But I mean, he was really interested in the actual. He wanted to learn how things worked on that level, and he was truly
interested in knowledge. He wasn't interested in promoting an agenda or there's this idea that I think is correct that I want to promulgate the world.
I can think of 3 or 4 professors off the top of my head of all the. I mean, I don't know how many professors I had in college, but I can think of 3 or 4 that were like that. The rest of them were not smart people who had just climbed that ladder.
Yeah.
And they were just very ruthless about.
They were pretty discernible on the face, though. Like you could tell the difference pretty easily
within a couple of lectures. And like some of those guys, I was like, well, I'm gonna download the solutions manual because I know how you fucking do this, and I'm not gonna listen to you because you've got nothing to say. But that's what
Isn't it amazing though? Like when you do meet somebody that you really respect their perspective, it's not even like an intellectual thing.
That's what college should be. That's what you think it would be.
No. College is for the homogenization of aggression against the patriarchy.
Fucking Greek, Socratic ideals. It should be the smartest people who are purely interested in philosophy. All they care about is knowledge.
What do you think? This is the fucking Americans of the 1940s? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, meritocracy.
I was fooled into that. I was fooled into that. I thought college really was going to be this place where it was kind of a worship of knowledge.
It's extra funny because he went to Boulder. Like it was
good thing I did.
I don't know if I've told you this about my family history, but like my dad and my uncle were in like heavy competition. My dad was the high school dropout. My uncle was the college law degree graduate. And they were always in competition to see who could be the most successful kid. Anyways, my cousin, my uncle's kid, went to Boulder, and 2 kids moved to Colorado. They went to school for 7 years, and there's not an associate's degree between the 2 of them. See, but then again, like they are far beyond less successful than me, my dad's kid, who didn't go to college. But we're all out here, and we all appreciate the Boulder and the liberalism and shit. But just, like, how do you feel like, how do we as a society get past this idea that you have to go to college to be successful? If you don't go to college, you're not reputable. If you like, the credentialization of society is what they call it. I think that shit's
going to be extinct very soon because it's quite clear you can learn anything besides hands-on, like, mechanical know-how.
STEM fields. In-depth STEM fields.
Yeah, I mean, besides like how to work on a car, how to operate on certain machinery, how to do certain hands-on trades, you can learn goddamn anything on the internet and probably better. Like if you're motivated and you go learn it yourself, it's going to be way better.
Well, and you see a lot of these high-profile CEOs even now coming out. Like I think Elon Musk was one of them. I don't hire people with college degrees. It's so much more impressive to me that if you taught yourself this shit and you're prolific at it and you know what you're doing and you're self-taught and you didn't have to be forced. Because
that implies something about your motivation. And your ability to teach yourself. I mean, they used to go, you don't go to college to learn things. You go to college to learn how to
bang chicks and rail lines at frat parties? Because that was one of the big motivations for me.
No, that's what I did too. But they said you go to college to learn how to learn. But I knew how to learn. You don't need to fucking nobody.
You learn how to shut the fuck up and accept the ideas that are presented to you.
Yeah.
And that's always been the thing with education. Like, and I'm sure like you've experienced this too. The mark of a really great educator is somebody who doesn't have an agenda. They just lay out the information and let their students come to a conclusion.
Yeah, like I said, there were very few.
And I had a few of those in high school.
Yeah, and that's what I think back to high school more than I think to college, because in college there were only a couple.
If you want to be a professor in the college setting, you have to have a little bit of like uppity in your head. You know what I'm saying? But if like you're the type of person who's like, yeah, I'm really smart, but fuck that whole academic rat race, you go to high school, and that's where the cool people collide.
No, I agree, and I mean, you end up with some of these Jordan Petersons who played the game, but they still want to set people free.
I still love the fact that he made millions of dollars. He's literally got an agent at CAA right now, which is what every comic that's at our level desperately wants. He's got one of those, and all he does is go around telling people to clean up the room and not be such a little bitch. That's literally all he does. Don't be a bitch. Yeah. Don't be a bitch.
And he eats a diet of pure steak, and then he got depressed and he had to stop doing it.
No, you know why he was all fucked up, why he's been off, is because he got addicted to benzodiazepines.
Oh.
Yeah, dude. It's been a real, like, I haven't followed that much, but apparently he was addicted to benzodiazepines, and like he was in Russia where it was a big whole medical deal. I don't know. All I know is I'd really, really like to get his daughter's phone number. I think she's married.
Yeah, she looks like she's fucking zonked on Xanax and she eats a diet of pure fucking red meat.
She looks like the type of chick that would date a comic, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, my dad's really smart and he knows what's going on, and I need a man who's going to challenge me. Who makes fun of shit?
She looks like the type of chick who, when the pill wore off, would try to bite your cock off, but I still would try to get in there.
And you can't blame her because it's a hormonal imbalance, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a velociraptor of a fucking... But yeah, I
mean... Like a trainable velociraptor.
Trainable velociraptor. That's what you want in a woman. I mean, yeah, as soon as Jordan Peterson went on that all-meat diet, he started holding his...
He got all T-Rex arms. T-Rex arms.
And you saw his face kind of get that kind of carnivorous.
He did like look a lot better after that, though. Like I was actually watching the Rogan episode today.
Looks like a fucking California condor. He looks like a carnivorous bird. And
the Canadian. What was the name of the bird?
California condor. He looks like one of those
Canadian
birds
condor. He's a Canadian condor.
Yeah. He just cleans up meat. You can see it in his face. He's got that kind of angular bird face.
He's like, oh, I noticed you had some liberal ideas there. Pick away at him.
And he sits and he's crosses his legs like this, and he's just sitting waiting for that moment.
By the way, I can't tell you how much I'd like to be a liberal. They've just gone so far off the fucking rails that being a conservative in today's day and age is like, hey, why don't we just let American society continue where it was in the 90s? You know what I'm saying?
It's literally, it is, you could come out of the closet as gay a lot easier as coming out as conservative right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of gay conservatives have talked about that exact same thing. Like the idea that
like I'm gay, and their mom's like, I love you, and they're like, but I'm a Republican. They're like, one thing at a time, sweetheart.
Calm down here. I thought we sent you to Berkeley. What?
Exactly.
What do you mean, gay?
Exactly. Yeah, dude. I mean, gay is like, oh, you're not gonna procreate? Good. That's green. But like, conservative somehow, like, they're trying to stamp it out of this country. The only
they can't though. 75 million people voted for Donald Trump. 75 million people.
The only
I think it was 70 million. 70 million
is a type of paleo conservatism.
Well, that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about people who are interested in individual freedom and artistic expression overtaking the right. I really think we're living through the midst of a party flip because the Democrats are becoming the party of the overeducated intelligentsia, the managerial class. Whereas, and this has been a trend for a while because I can remember a kid in Yadkin County, hyper rural red state, North Carolina, back in the 2000s was super red. All those people voted for fucking George Bush, but they voted for George Bush because they thought he was going to maintain the religious status quo. Mm-hmm. Whereas people voted for Donald Trump because they wanted to fucking have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't vote for Donald Trump because you want to see religious austerity maintain its place.
It's really
you vote for Donald Trump because you want to see people get shit on.
People have pointed this out before, but the subculture, the counterculture, is on the right now.
It really is. That's fascinating to me.
It is fascinating because all the comics I loved when I started comedy were this kind of left-wing opposition to Ronald Reagan and so forth. And it was the the Bill Hicks and the Sam Kinnisons who were,
which still proliferated throughout the 90s under the Clinton administration.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's really where they got their legs was under the Clinton administration. What's going to be so interesting for comics, like, there's going to have to be a realignment of the appreciation for what counterculture is. You know what I'm saying? People are going to have to appreciate Hicks the same way they appreciate guys like you and me who are willing to go against the grain.
Well, there's no question in my mind that if those guys were around now, they would not be left-wing.
No.
Those guys were anti-authoritarian.
Although I've been very disappointed by a lot of my favorite artists over the past couple of months.
I have been too. It's pathetic. But I mean, those guys were truth tellers who said no to the media. Like that. When I think about Hicks was the first guy to go, "What the fuck is going on with the news?" Hicks was brilliant about saying, my world is beautiful, and then I turn on the news, there's genocide, poverty, hunger.
I like Stanhope's joke about that too. It's like, I keep trying to point out the problems to people, and then they shove nachos in their fucking ears. Mm-hmm. I love that shit.
But that's the thing. Like he went so hard on population. That's the joke you're talking about, where he pours the beer on his head. I've been talking about population for 4 special. Population, it's not that they're wrong. You want to talk about population, fine, but any political solution to population control is unbelievably bad.
It becomes unethical real fucking quick.
So you just have to so if we are going to overpopulate and people are going to die, fine. Like there's no, like, if you look at, I remember there was, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's population curves in different species, and it just depends on resources and it depends on whatever else. But
that's why Mexicans haven't been so prolific. I got you.
There's J-curve populations like bunnies and shit where it just goes crazy and then it crashes. And then there's other types of curves where it's more level. Thomas Malthus was the guy who mapped all these curves. But whatever. We can't control it artificially. Clearly, like you look at the Chinese. And what they did. Oh my God.
That was horrifically anti-humanitarian.
And we think, we'll improve on what? No. It's not our job to monitor the numbers and decide that we know intellectually what the carrying capacity of the Earth is. And we go, well, as soon as we hit 7.5 billion, we need to start wearing No.
I think Bill Gates would disagree with you.
Of course he would. All those people are trying to depopulate, and it's
not even a depopulation thing. It's literally a control and power thing. That's what this all boils down to, is control of population. That's what it all boils down to. Whether you don't want people to have the ability to independently embark on free enterprise, you don't want people to have the ability to speak openly, and they're getting it to the point. Like what's disconcerting to me is we're increasingly getting to the point where even if you have truth to speak, if you speak it, you will be fucking destroyed. Right. That is what's so unsettling to me as a comedian, and where really gets me worried about where we're at. Is like, you and I have obviously chosen, comedy is what we want to do with our lives. This is what we want to, this is it. Like, there's no, comedy didn't work out, I'm going to go be a project manager for Kaiser Permanente. That shit's off the table. So, if they take this shit from us, I really don't have any other reason to live. Might as well go out and be a heroin addict. If you take comedy away, there's no fucking point. I'm not going to go work in a warehouse and just be subjugated to this shit. I will put myself on the welfare payroll so much quicker before taking a bullshit job. The only reason I take bullshit jobs is because they lend the facility to hopefully pursue comedy. You take that shit away, fuck it, I'm done. You know?
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I don't know. They're not taking it away, but cancel culture to me is a kind of communist strategy to
cultural Marxism.
Exactly. It's a Marxist strategy for narrowing the dialogue into controlled parameters. Mm-hmm. And if you remark on topics that are used politically, you may be canceled. You may be removed.
You will be if you It's getting to the point where if you say something outside that challenges the agenda of global homogenization, you will be excommunicated. And like they're getting it to the point. They're getting it to the point.
Global homogenization.
They're getting it to the point where if you say something negative that they don't like, they'll call MasterCard and Visa the two, duopolistic credit card cartels.
This is why we need our own currency immediately, because we're going to have a credit system where they can remove your actual financial ability to move around the world.
No, Joe Biden's going to make this country great again. What are you talking about? He would never do that to us. You fucking stupid people.
Yeah, but if we get on that Biden credit system and you say something that is critical of the party, which is going to be, by the way, if Biden wins, it's a one-party system, and it will be a...
No, yeah, it's the uniparty, neocon, neoliberal, the convergence of the two. It's fucking phenomenal. And my favorite thing is that the biggest voting demographic in this country is 60 fucking years old. And they, they're just like, oh, I don't understand censorship on the internet. Why? That doesn't mean fuck to me. Right. And then these young kids are like, oh, Billie Eilish told me to vote for Biden. Woo! So they've literally got the youth and the geriatric demographics voting in the same. It's phenomenal what they've done. Like, if I were a millionaire and I weren't worried about me being able to provide a lifestyle that's tolerable for myself, I would be in utter awe of what they've accomplished. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and honestly, though, do you really think Billie Eilish, I think there's a generation of neocons coming.
Billie Eilish looks like she gives terrible blowjobs.
Okay.
I think we can all agree on that.
How old is she before I comment on this?
Old enough?
I don't know if that's true, but okay. I don't disagree, but yes, young girls give terrible blowjobs. Unless
when he says young, he means 18 and above.
Unless they've dabbled in drugs and debauchery, or if they really hate their father. Young girls.
It really is interesting how cocaine use correlates directly to blowjob quality.
Yeah, you will learn. You will learn quickly.
Like, god damn, she can snort a line, but she can't slob a knob. What's going on here?
Yeah, well, I mean, you do that shit with a guy who gets you all fucking... I mean...
I don't do that shit with guys, so...
You'll be so high that you have to figure out... I mean, if it takes you 2 hours to get the guy hard...
It takes you 2 hours to get a guy hard?
Me? Oh, it takes me longer than that. But that's what you're talking about, isn't it? You get fucked up on stimulants where you have to learn how to
I'm just talking about like the moral equivalency of this country to be like, yeah, you know what? Donald Trump is an abhorrent human being. First president that was elected on the platform of accepting gay marriage, by the way. That guy is abhorrent. But this Joe Biden, a guy who's literally overseen 50 years of the selling out of the American working class, the fucking holding back of progressive values in the Democratic Party. Dude, Joe Biden is the guy that keeps progressive ideas at bay within the Democratic Party. That was his job.
It's unreal. Like if you just add up all the things that he is that people are still happy about, like
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Let's just start with he's actually incompetent. Like they wanted to say George Bush Jr. was incompetent.
And that guy couldn't read.
Right, he couldn't read. Well, listen, he could read a fucking teleprompter. He could read, and just guess what? Joe Biden cannot.
You know what else he could do? He could dodge shoes that were thrown at his head.
Right. Yeah. That guy was mobile. He was agile. He could read. He wasn't smart, but he was actually fairly articulate compared to Biden.
He knew how to speak to other dumb people.
Yeah. They highlighted a couple of his gaffes,
which is good for Biden because
Biden's gaffes, without even being president, already dwarf George Bush's gaffes.
But Biden wouldn't be able to Biden would not be able to relate to the American dumbass class if it weren't for his dementia. I really feel like his dementia might be a strength because when people see it, they go, I also cannot form cognitive.
I also forgot who was running for president.
I can't form sentences, so I'm going to vote for this guy.
Joe Biden for Senate. I mean, president.
I mean, what's a sentence? What's a sentence?
No, I don't disagree with
Why
that.
would you need to form a sentence if you're going to lead the free world?
But there's no argument. He is less competent than George Bush. So the person who the left thought
Isn't that
was
so disheartening?
the dumbest Republican that had ever run, Joe Biden is more incompetent. So they go, well, yeah, he is incompetent. He's got dementia. He's old. But... so that's the starting point. Then you get into his policies and you go, oh, actually, he all the things that you care about. He hurt black people. He hurt women. He hurt
intentionally hurt black
women
people
directly. He hurt. Yeah, exactly. So you get into. So what do you care about? Oh, I don't have any values. I was just hoping we could kill more Syrians.
You know that guy who's been in office for 4 years who is mathematically incapable of causing as much harm as the people who've been in office for 50 years? That guy. Fuck that guy. We don't want to see anything. The guy who's been in office for 50 years, perpetuating all the things that we hate, that's our guy. It's fucking mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing. I don't understand, like, to talk to a liberal, the level of compartmentalization, the level of compromise.
Cognitive dissonance. The cognitive dissonance. It's the biggest, dude. It's insane.
It's unreal.
It's insane.
Unreal. Where you just go, okay, so you, like, if you just take a psychology, like, honestly, just listen to Jordan Peterson. You hate Donald Trump so much that you're unwilling to listen to your own faculties of reason.
Nope.
So it's it almost makes you think it was planned because the fact that
I feel like all this is planned.
The left, when I was a kid,
in a cosmic sense, I feel like it's planned, not by human beings. On a cosmic sense, I feel like all this is laid out.
Yeah, on some level, it was orchestrated because
it's too funny not to be.
When I was young,
too funny not to be.
I remember the Democratic Party. Like now, the Democratic Party is the moral party. And I mean, of course, they're not moral.
Isn't that hilarious? They're the moral authoritarians. Isn't that fucking great?
Of course they're not. They don't actually care about any of the things. They use moral issues to gain popular support. But they use morality. When I was a kid, it was the Democrats are the smart party. I remember that.
That's the party of intelligence.
Because if we go back to Bush Gore was the intellectual.
At least portrayed like that by the media.
But I've heard both of them speak. I heard Bush speak and I heard Gore speak. And Gore,
I don't know. I've heard Gore say some pretty retarded shit. I mean, South Park did a good job on Man Bear Pig. I'm Man Bear Pig. That was fucking awesome.
I'm not saying he was actually smart. I'm just saying that his image. His image was smart. And even if you look at Obama, McCain, like McCain wasn't stupid, but Obama seemed smarter.
Obama and McCain were both as accurate of representations of their prescribed electorates as you could get. Obama, like, statesman, well-spoken guy, and like McCain, like, I might not be the most well-spoken, but I'm an old gritty war vet. Like it was a really good depiction of the electorates.
But what I'm saying is, like, it went from this thing when I was younger. It was the Democrats were the smart party. Now they don't even say that because they know they're not. Now they say
they're the educated party.
Not even educated.
No, they will say that because the majority of their electorates have college degrees, and that's been the big shift demographically.
But it is, to me, it shifted from a level of rationality and intellect to a morality, where they're saying we're the moral party.
Well, I think I would say that at least up through the Reagan years and possibly up through the Bush years, that conservatism was the dominant ideology within this country.
But there used to be smart, like if you go back to Buckley, William Buckley's show, like the conservatives were smart.
Yeah. And the good ones still are. The good ones still are.
Well, if you look at them now, I don't know any smart.
They're not going to put them on Fox News, but your Ben Shapiro's, your Dave Rubins, your people like that, those
Michael
are
Malice, and
those
so
are
they're high IQ people.
You get into the Michael Malice, and that's even beyond party politics. That's into like way abstract, political ideology thought that I agree with.
Clearly not left.
I agree with Michael Malice, but those ideas are never going to gain, promulgation within the American populace at large.
But yeah, I think that's a shift because I remember, there weren't a lot of when I grew up, there weren't a lot of intellectuals on the right. The intellectuals were on the left, Chomsky and so forth.
When did you hear about Thomas Sowell before you were 28 years old? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Where did you hear about?
But now you have intellectuals leaving the left, like Glenn Greenwald. What's his name? Glenn Greenwald.
Not even leaving the left, dude. His political ideology is where it always was. The same political ideology that led Glenn Greenwald to break the Snowden and the NSA spying. He hasn't changed. The fucking media publications that he fucking co-founded have gone so far left.
I know.
And this fucking bullshit idea that they're the arbiters of truth and morality. That's what kills me. Is like even in the 90s, even in the 80s, even when the Republicans were claiming to be the morality party, they never claimed to be the arbiters. They never claimed to have dominion over the lives of others.
Yeah.
These people want to control what I have to say. And because they're moral, whereas I'm funny. You know what I'm saying? And those are mutually exclusive ideas. You can't be moral and funny at the same time. Yeah.
Look at Louis C.K. He tried it.
He tried his best.
He tried his best.
Here's the Louis. Thank you, Louis.
R.I.P. Louis.
R.I.P. Louis. That was one frictionless rub out. We appreciate it. Where are we at?
We're at 107.
Where do you want to call it? 115?
We could take a break right now.
Let's take a break. We're going to take a break. We're going to do another clap.
There you go.
Because we are still in the midst of a production learning curve.